Stories of Awakening with Mary Jo. And this episode, which is episode 4, I have my lovely friend Alba Weinman. And I met Alba in 2014 as we both trained with Dolores in level 2 of the Quantum Healing Hypnosis Technique. And we met again in person in Wanaka just a few months ago, just September, where I took the introspective hypnosis with yourself and Antonio, which was wonderful. And that was the first time we'd met in 5 years. So that was such a delight and a joy. And here we are again to discuss and to share your awakening journey, which I'm excited to dive into a bit more and discover what really led you into your soul mission and the commitment that you have made in that dedication. And as we spoke about just before we hopped on here, the traveling and just the, I've obviously witnessed your dedication to really showing up in your sessions and supporting people on their awakening journey. So welcome, Alba, and thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks. It's been a long journey. I'm a little jealous of the young ones that are hopping on board really quickly, and they get to have all of this information available anywhere. They get to Google and they get to go to YouTube and books. When I was starting my journey, it was very little information out there. Mm-hmm. It was a desert of information. Mm. So it's been a long journey, and like I said, I'm a little jealous because everybody has all this information now, and we had to do it the hard way. It was like really hard. We had to wake up without any alarms.
Yes. Can I start there with just asking the question that I'm asking everybody is, what is your definition of awakening?
Well, awakening is just knowing that there's something different than what you've been told. That's what, we have been brought up, we've been grown on this planet in a certain way. And all of a sudden, when people wake up, they realize there's a different reality out there than what I knew about, and many people have been feeling this since birth, that there's something different, there's something missing. But now the awakening is really fast, where you realize, oh my God, this world is totally different than what I realized. And the awakening could be many different things. It could not only be about your spirituality, but it could be about just everything, the religions, the governments, everything. You're just waking up to a different world than what you expected.
Yeah. And so when you look back on your life, and as you said, it's been going on a while, so what were those, I know, the first moments you can remember where you were like, yeah, there's got to be more?
Well, one of the most prominent memories that I have is when I was 8 years old, and my family was not a religious family. They were spiritual, but they were not religious, and I think that's something that people say a lot. But would
you just before you go into when you're 8, yeah, would you, what does that really mean? Because it is something that people say they're not religious, but yeah, what does that mean?
You know that you believe in something, you believe in God, you believe in something else, but you don't really believe in an organized religion to tell you what to do.
Right, beautiful.
So even though my parents were spiritual, they knew that they had to follow the rules of Catholicism, which is what I was born into.
Catholicism.
And I had to do my first Holy Communion when I was 8.
Ah, yes.
Yes.
I remember that.
Yes. Now, I already noticed that I was very different than the other children that went to catechism. I went to public school, and I had to go, I think it was like every Tuesday in the afternoon, I had to go to the Catholic school, and the nuns taught you catechism. And I was such a good kid. But when I went into that, every time I went to the religious studies, I would turn into a different person. I was so against what they were doing. And I refused This is 8 years old. I refused to say the prayers out loud.
Ooh,
I would lip sync them.
blasphemy. How
Yes, I
dare
would
you?
lip sync. Yes, because it was like, I don't believe in this stuff. You're not going to make me do this. Um, and and the day of my first, before the Holy Communion, you had to confess.
Mhm.
I never went to confession.
Mm.
I've never seen the inside of a confessional. I went to the ceremony. I got my little wafer, and when I was outside, and everybody's taking the little pictures of how pretty we were. I told my parents, I looked them in the eye, and I said, and I pointed to the church, and I said, that's the last time you make me go there.
And
And
how did your parents take that?
they were okay with it, because I realized many years later that they were worse than I was. But they had to go along with the society norms. And when people ask me, why I didn't go to church, I always said, why do I need to have anybody in the middle? I could connect directly with God. That was just normal for me. I could connect directly with God. I don't need a priest in the middle. And I felt that really strongly. So I already knew at that age there was something different about me, because none of my schoolmates felt like I did, and they weren't so adamant as I was about religion. So that was kind of like my first knowing that something was off, something was different about me. And then the next thing that happened is, well, my parents used to tell me that I would see things when I was little. Um, I would complain that my sister, who was older than me, I would tell my parents that she would put a sheet over her head and run around the room and scare me, which was not true.
Oh.
and and I would tell them that there was somebody looking at me from the corner of my room up by the ceiling. And so my parents, my mother had to teach me little tricks to calm myself down and go to sleep. And she was ahead of her time. She actually said to me, what is it that makes you happy? If you were to see something, what would make you happy? And I'd say, I love ballerinas. And she says, well, when you're scared like that, in your mind, just imagine, just see a little ballerina dancing, and then go to sleep. And so that was my mother's induction to visualize, so that I could calm down. And after that, I didn't see anything after that. It was almost like I had shut that down, that seeing.
That's so interesting that your mother gave you such a beautiful, supportive way to deal with it, and still how it somehow shut down. Because a lot of kids, the parents might come in and go, oh, you're just making it up, or and that would be why they'd shut down. So that's any idea why that would have shut down, when your mother really was pretty supportive? She didn't deny what you were seeing.
I was I was a very introverted kid, and I was a scaredy cat. I was afraid of everything. And I think that was just one more thing that I couldn't handle. It was bad enough going to school and having to deal with human children, but that was even weirder. So I probably couldn't have handled anymore, because I was very introverted and very shy and very withdrawn. So I just probably didn't need that at the time.
Right. And so then how did you continue on into teenage years?
I was like the worst teenager. I was a crazy teenager. Everything you shouldn't do, I did. I those years are kind of like, let's erase those. but it was when I got into adult that things started happening again. The first thing that happened was I actually met this guy who was a born again Christian, and I had a friendship with him, and I had never opened the Bible in my life. and he told me that he was, reading this Bible. And that's when I pulled out the Bible and I started reading about Jesus. I really didn't know anything except what the catechism had taught me, which I wasn't listening anyway. And I started reading. I didn't read anything else except the stories of Jesus. And I went, wow, this is really cool. And that was the first time I was actually introduced to religion of any kind. But I wasn't going to church. It was like I was interpreting it my way. So that was the first time I said, I really like this guy. I just felt good about what he was doing.
So what age were you around then?
That was about 18, 19.
Okay. Still pretty young. Yep.
Yeah, still pretty young. And after a while, I put that aside. So that it's almost like little chunks of, or what I call breadcrumbs throughout my life that I was following. And nothing really happened. I got into business and I totally withdrew from anything. And that's when I reached about, I would say 28 or so, 20, maybe 29 or close to that age. My father had died when I was about 21. And I don't know what happened, but I started thinking about him. I hadn't really thought about my dad because I got too involved in my life, and he was kind of like, he was dead, So
was that a sudden? Was that something sudden, or was he sick?
No, he was sick. He had cancer, but I had spent all of my time with him, and then once he was gone, it was like I moved on with my life. But my dad was a very mischievous guy. He everything that he could do to pull a joke on you, he would. He would hide in closets, and he just loved to
keep you laughing.
Always. He was always pulling pranks on people. And one day, I couldn't find my makeup sponge, which I used to put on my foundation. It disappeared into nowhere. And about a week later, it appeared on the edge of my bed. And that bed had been made many times. And I went, okay, what is that? And I thought, it's got to be Dad. It's got to be Dad, because who else would do this? Would pull a prank like this. And so I started thinking about Dad, and I said, it'd be nice to communicate with him today, and see how he's doing. So that was like the breadcrumb to wake me up to.
So that was about when you were 28. Did you say 28? Yeah. It seems to be an interesting 27, 28, like we go into this other stage. Like it's like the chapter of the teenage years is like that 7-year cycle, and then the 21 to 28.
Exactly. Yeah. So at that time, for some reason, I picked up a book, which was Ruth Montgomery books. And simultaneously, I picked up Out on a Limb by Shirley MacLaine.
I've heard of these names, but I'm not familiar with them.
Shirley MacLaine is an actress, an actor who actually was on her own spiritual journey, and she wrote this book. It was very, very. It was the first book that really people had written about their awakening, and she was upfront about it, and it was a very courageous thing for her to do because this could have meant, the end of her career. And I wrote that, and I was reading. I like to read many books at the same time. It's kind of a crazy thing, but I was reading Ruth Montgomery, who did automatic writing, and then I picked up the Seth material, which is Jane Roberts. This just opened up a whole brand new world of the spirit world, and so I thought, maybe I can communicate with my dad, someday, because Ruth Montgomery used to do automatic writing, but I didn't know where to start. Same time, I'm with a friend who invites me to a transcendental meditation event. I didn't know what it was. I got there. I rolled my eyes the whole time I was there. This is just BS. I don't want to deal with this. This is crazy. These people are weird. I was in a different world. Okay.
So you're when you say you were in a different world.
I was in the professional field.
Yeah,
You just
so more
didn't
the
talk
corporate,
about the corporate
world.
world.
Yeah.
Very strict corporate world. And so I ended up taking the class. It was a 1 day how to meditate type of thing. And I thought it was ridiculous. And when I tried it, doing the oming thing, I felt that my head was beginning to spin. It looked like something out of the movie The Exorcist. You may be too young to remember that, but
I remember.
okay. I felt like that my head was going to spin off of my body, and I felt like yeah, and I felt like my soul was leaving my body.
I'm just thinking it's an interesting connection to The Exorcist, especially coming from a Catholic background.
Exactly. So I thought, I opened my eyes to look around the room to see if anybody else was acting weird, and they all seemed very calm. And I said, this is like, I don't like this. First of all, I didn't like the idea of this meditation. I didn't know what it was. And then I went home and I said, well, maybe I can connect this meditation thing with my pen, and maybe I could connect to the spirit world. And so I sat on my bed and I took a pen and a pad and I started writing. I had my eyes closed. I was kind of freaked out about it. And my dad came through. My dad had a very beautiful, beautiful handwriting, a very just gorgeous handwriting and signature. And he had put his signature all through the page. And he kept writing to me, I am your father, I'm your father, I'm your father, all over the page.
So when you're doing this writing, is your eyes closed? Or you like in meditation?
Yeah.
And it's just
yeah, I didn't know what was going on until I opened the page and I went, oh
wow.
My God. So I ran into my mother's room because I was living with her at the time, and I said, Dad connected with me. And she was sleeping. It's like, okay, that's nice. And the next day I come home from work, I had told her what I did, and she had now connected with my dad. So I had shown her how to do automatic writing in the morning during breakfast, and now she was communicating with him.
Your mother doesn't hang about.
No, she was very advanced.
I think so, yeah.
My dad was my first teacher. He was my first teacher about what happens in the spirit world. And he explained to me everything that happened from the hospital room to when he left his body, what was happening as he was following us at the funeral. And so he started telling me about the spirit world, which was really interesting. And that went on for months, and it became like a hobby of mine, just to talk to Dad and find out more.
It's like when you want to get back to a really good book.
Yes, exactly. Until one day he said to me, I have to go to school now, so I can't write to you anymore. And I had never heard of a spirit going to school. And so to me it was like, but you're dead. How could spirits have school? And he goes, yeah, I have to go to school now. And so he goes, but I'm going to connect you now with your guide, and he will take it from here. So I started now. My guide was very down to earth. He didn't give me anything off the top. He was just whatever I needed help on, he helped me, but he never taught me anything beyond just what I needed at that moment. It's almost like saying, he wasn't a teacher. He was just there to take care of me. Anytime I was upset, he would tell me it was okay, it's going to be all right. But he didn't teach me until he finally said to me, all right, I'm done with you. You now need to connect with the teachers.
So just going back to your father leaving, because that obviously that beautiful connection. What was that like?
Yeah. You just have to accept it. I mean, he had already died once, and now
A different kind of death. He died in the body, and now he's like just heading off.
But I didn't really feel bad because I already knew that he was connected with me. That even though he was going to school, he wasn't gone. You see what I mean?
Yeah. And did he tell you why he was going to school?
It was just his spiritual progression. He just had to learn. He had to keep going. That was the evolution.
Mm-hmm.
So then I started being taught by another teacher who just said, call me teacher. Don't, I don't really want you to give me a name. Just call me teacher. And he started teaching me about the law of attraction. So this is now, we're talking about like in the 90s, early 90s, where he's now teaching me about how to manifest.
So
Now, remember,
had you heard about the law of attraction?
there was no such thing at that time.
Mm.
We didn't even call it the law of attraction. We just called it how to create your life. It was just
Ah.
very simple words. Remember, there was still, the internet was still not out there. There was no law of attraction. There was nothing there. So he started teaching me about how to manifest.
Mm-hmm.
And giving me a lot more higher level information, which I don't remember, but because it just became part of me. And after a while, I said, why don't you give me your name? Why is it that you're not giving me your name? And he says, well, when I was on earth, they called me Jesus. And that's just like,
Whoa.
and I went, well, good thing you didn't tell me a long time ago where you were. I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy. And that's how I realized that I did have a connection with him, that he was my teacher, and that, there was nothing less. I was not less than. I was an equal in as a student, that I could learn and I could do more. So I took that information, and then I started doing life coaching and implementing the things that I was learning from the automatic writing into my coaching. So, even though I had,
you were still at the corporate job, but
oh
you were just
yeah,
making a bit of a transition, or it was just in addition? I
no,
think,
in addition
yeah,
to, I was doing this at night.
right.
Yeah, I would never have lost my corporate job. I loved my corporate job. I loved what I was doing. It was.
And what was it that you were doing in the corporate world? Remind me.
I was in telecommunications.
Oh, yeah.
And I had everything to do with the phone systems for the corporations. So for a while I was working for a city, and then for a while I was working for a university, for a bank for many, many years. So I was in charge of the phone system.
So communication.
Exactly, exactly. So, we used to take orders to move phones from departments. For a while I was programming phones for a large company. And then after a while I was doing the recordings of the company, like all of the departments, when you call and it announces the department name, and press 1 for this, press 2. So I was the voice of two companies that I worked for. And that's where I developed the voice that I use during my sessions. I had to learn how to train my voice.
So
So
it's
yeah,
so interesting to look back and just see how everything connects, as you said, the
right,
breadcrumbs or the
right.
dots or the puzzle pieces start coming together and make this greater picture, this greater intention, we'll say, of the soul
Yes,
for the
yes.
life.
So during that time, I was still getting a lot of automatic writing. I would be told, like some people get insights of, I should be doing this, and you just get a feeling like I should be doing this. Well, I was actually getting it in writing, like, these are the things that you should be looking into doing now, and this is what, it should be coming up next.
Can I ask
And
you one question, just
yeah,
put in there about the writing? So would you say, because we learn in different ways, we're
yes,
either wordy, visual, kinesthetic.
yes.
Is that how you kind of relate to information more through words? Would that be more of that avenue that would be, or that channel that connects more for you, or any?
I can't say that now. Then it was. I
Yeah,
was getting
yeah.
everything written. But I would say now it's just flowing through me. I've made a different connection now, where it was almost, Mary Jo, like that was my training for channeling,
Yeah.
because I was channeling through my hand.
Mm-hmm.
It was like I had training wheels,
Mm-hmm.
you see? The paper was a training with the training wheels. And finally now I don't need the paper. I very rarely write my automatic writing, because when I'm doing my sessions, it's just flowing through me. It just flows. So I don't need to write it. It just happens. Anytime I'm with my clients, it's just flowing.
Yeah. But it's kind of like getting it going, as you said, the training wheels, until you trust it, and then it just becomes automatic. Then the automatic writing becomes automatic through the body channel.
And I have to tell you something, because you just said a really important word, and that's trusting. For all of the time that I was doing the automatic writing, I did not trust that it was real. I never trusted that it was real. I just wrote it and was like, I didn't give it much weight. And my guides would always say, why do you keep doubting? Why do you keep doubting? That was in almost every writing. It's like, why do you keep doubting this? When are you going to stop doubting?
And what was my answer?
I'm stubborn. I'm a stubborn student. I was not very open to this. I really wasn't. Whatever they told me, I wasn't open to it. It's not like, so I see some of these people who, wake up and they trust everything. I didn't trust anything.
I do wonder though, it seems like it is important. I know it can be to our detriment, the self-doubting. It can even get to such a crippling state when we don't trust. But also, I also said it's really important to have that healthy skepticism in a world that we're born into, so that we can discern and sift through information and not just take on board everything. And I think that's, it's probably reflective. I mean, you can tell me if this resonates for you, but of more of that old soul where you've had many experiences. So you're like, okay, something's off, or, whereas if you haven't had a lot of experiences on the planet, I just kind of notice that there is that tendency to kind of go with whatever's presented.
Yeah. And I'm a very old soul, and I've been here many, many, many times. And I think I've been doing the same work over and over and over again. Because it just feels like I've done this so many times before, the same exact thing in different ways. So, that learning discernment was important for me. And I even take that into my work now. Even though I treat every single session, I just give it my all, but I don't believe everything I hear, because it's
will you share
not
just
my truth.
Will you share, just for anybody who may not understand or may not be familiar with the sessions that you do, can you just share a little bit about what you actually do?
Yeah. Well, I do hypnosis, and it's spiritual hypnosis. It's not your clinical lose weight, stop smoking hypnosis. It is spiritual based. And it started out with the QHHT. That's how it started with me, with Dolores Cannon's method, in which you connected with the person's higher self, their soul, that inner wisdom that we call it. But as the years progressed, I found that I needed more techniques. I needed to expand more, because there was a lot more out there that we weren't touching upon. And so as the years progressed, I keep expanding and expanding and expanding what I do. I will go to places where I never would have imagined going, asking for things in the spirit realm that people don't ask for.
So you're talking about within the session, you're going to
within the session. Exactly. And so there are times when people come to me and they may be talking about a reality that may be their reality, but it's not my reality. Okay. So I don't take it as something that I need to now agree with 100%. But as long as they agree with it, that's fine. And I'll give you an example. Extraterrestrials. Okay. That was the last thing that I would have ever imagined I would have been involved with. Okay. The last thing. In fact, in 2006, I read the book Communion, and my guides, as while I was reading it, was like, "We don't want you reading this stuff." And I'm like,
So
"Yeah, but this
sorry,
is a good book."
communion. I'm not. I thought I was familiar, but I'm not familiar with that book.
It's about an abduction.
Oh,
It's about
okay.
an abduction.
Okay.
And during the whole time, I'm like eating up this book, and they're writing to me saying like, "We don't want you getting involved with this stuff."
Mhm.
And I'm like, "Yeah, but I like it." And I was always fighting my guides. And they said, "Listen, this is the last book you read about this. We don't want you reading this stuff. You're not to be involved with this because, as you know, what you think about is what you're going to manifest, and we don't want you going in this direction." And I was, I was, I was like, I kind of like this stuff, but
So
they
just
stopped
go
me.
back to them. Were you still doing the automatic writing? Is that how
Oh
your
yeah,
guides were still coming through?
yes, and they were telling me yay or nay to what I was doing. They were guiding me.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Most people are guided, but we don't listen. They tell you in your mind, don't do that, don't do that, and you burn yourself. And it's like, how many times did we tell you not to do this? So I did not go down the extraterrestrial route. So that my guides kind of scared me on that. It's like, okay, why not? But I guess I wasn't ready for it. And that came many years later when Dolores Cannon was talking about extraterrestrials. And I was like, oh, I'm not, I don't want to go there. And I would actually ask my guides, do not give me any sessions with ETs, because I had already kind of realized I can't handle that. I'm not, mature is not the right word, but I just wasn't spiritually mature to handle that until a really easy ET session came. And I said, oh, that wasn't that bad. Okay, you could send more. And that's when it became, I started getting more, and I started learning little by little how to deal with them, and a little bit more about them. And now it's nothing for me. But the great thing about my guides is that they always gave me exactly what I needed. They didn't push me more than I needed. It was kind of like I was being held by my hand all along as to what I could handle. And it's been an amazing ride. And so now when I do my sessions, I'm on autopilot. My higher self is basically running the session. I'm in the background just as an observer, and I'm in that trance state with my clients. And it's fascinating for me to see how the sessions evolve.
And so for you,
Because
when you're in that trance state, is it a feeling? Is it a auditory? Do you feel like you could just tap into what's going
I'm
on for them,
I'm
or it's
yeah, no, I'm there with them. I'm tapped in with them. It's almost like we're conjoined, uh,
Mhm.
as spirits. We're just there, and I just know what to say next. It's coming from somewhere else because I'm not very good at words. But when I'm in a session, they just flow, and I'm in the background going like, "Wow, that was brilliant! How'd you come up with that?" How did we get here? That was amazing. So I'm in the background, like the peanut gallery, thinking like, wow, how did we even get down this road? So
Mhm.
I'm like I'm almost like a participant, but I'm also an observer of my own work, which is a
Mhm.
really strange feeling.
Well, isn't it interesting as well? I mean, from my experience with my own sessions and other people as well, is it's taken that more ego or conscious,
Yes.
into the back seat. So even as we're doing the sessions, we tend to put that part of our consciousness in the back seat as well, so that we can
Yeah.
just be available, present time to what's there. And of course, we're all connected ultimately.
Yes.
And it's
Yes.
just trusting moment by moment by moment.
It's that discernment. And at the end, it's like, wow, how did we get here? And should I even acknowledge what happened. And my guides basically say, like, it's not for you. Just let it go. It's for them. It's not for you. So I don't absorb stuff from the session. It's not like I am taking that information and creating a library of material.
Yeah.
My guides have basically guided me into just do the work and let it go. It's not yours. Just do the work, and next, whatever comes next, just so it's very different than our beloved Dolores Cannon that would do research and books on it. She actually, would take all her notes and make books. For me, when I'm done with a session, honestly, I can't even read what my notes say. Like, I don't even know what it says. I'm writing the whole time, but later I go back and go like, what was that? What is that? Because I take notes for me to edit the videos. Yeah, so I'll do timestamp and what it's about if I have to take something out. But I don't really do the notes for me to remember the session. It's just for me for editing purposes. So my notes are just like, they're just insane. So if someone says, oh, do you remember this video or this session? I don't remember. I really don't remember.
I can totally relate to that as well. If when I do have somebody come back for a second session, I have to, just to tune back into what the last session was, and yeah, I really don't remember. I might remember, it's interesting, even when I notice, even when, I don't know if I just set it up or whatever, just so that I wouldn't get stuck in story or get stuck, in that more headiness. But I just seem to have always had a great capacity to kind of move on and just kind of leave that in the past and move on. And then even when I have clients who come back for massage, because even with the quantum session, I never tell anyone to come back, whether it's a massage client or a quantum session. It's just not what floats my boat. If they do, brilliant. The door's always open. I love you. Big hugs, warmth, smiles. But I guess that commitment to showing up in the moment in the greatest capacity, and empowering as well. So. Ultimately, so that I don't have the neediness to come back again. And yet, when that expansion happens or whatever, and that person is guided, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. But yeah, when I just noticed with my clients with massage, sometimes they'll come in and I'm like, it could be 6 months, it could be 2 years, it could be 5 years. And then once I'm with them a few minutes, it's like those files in the back somewhere start coming up to the forefront. And then I can start, just even as I'm massaging them, it starts coming back to me what we may have spoken about in their last massage. And then I can start connecting the dots and relate. And it's like, and there's such a level of trust there, but it's so perfect as well.
Yes. But that's the beauty of the subconscious mind. I mean, it never turns off, ever. We are recording day and night everything that's happening around us. And that's why in hypnosis, you can go into those files and bring up things that happen that you didn't even know about. I just had a session a few hours ago delving into somebody's birth, things that happened at birth that are affecting her now. And it's just amazing how every second of your day it's filed there. We are, so yes, things for me, I must have a really strong lock and key to put those not really jam them in there. don't unlock that one. But with you notice that something does trigger it, and that memory brings it back.
It's like when it's appropriate, when it's inspired, when it's helpful.
Yes, that's it. And that's the beauty of hypnosis, is that you can go into any part of your life and figure out why things are triggering people. And it could be a little minuscule thing that happened when you were 3 years old. But
and also
that's the beauty.
And also that it's also the interpretation of that event as well, and where it's kind of you know, been, well, yeah, what we've done with it or what we haven't done with it. So it's really not so much even, you know, whether somebody has a big story, or even, you know, they may not even realize that there was anything specifically traumatic, and yet
Yes.
there could be a little event that just, you know, they interpreted or came to some conclusion or whatever, and it's
Yes.
still playing out in this belief system pattern that's affecting
Yes.
life. Yeah.
Yeah. Even somebody's words that were directed to you in anger, that they didn't really mean it, but they just let something out, and that could destroy your self-esteem. You know, if you really trust that person and they say something to you and it just tears you down, that little thing could affect you for the rest of your life. So my sessions are a combination now of those things. You know, the like the introspective hypnosis where we do deal with things. I did go to hypnotherapy school, so I am certified, and I do many different techniques that from all over the place. But now I'm expanding a lot more. I'm being a lot bolder. I've noticed that I say I, but I don't even feel like it should be I. It's almost like we. We're a lot bolder now.
The big eye, the big eye.
Whoever it is that
Yeah.
helps me on my team, I feel like we're a lot bolder now than we were before, and it's expanding into more things, and it's wiping me out. The energy that I am putting out and receiving is so much more powerful than it was before, that I really feel like I'm in a heavy duty trance myself. Very different than before when I used to do 3 sessions a day before. I would work 14 hours a day. Now I work only one session a day, and that one is usually when I'm finished with the session, I have to go out and walk around because I'm floating. I'm I have to ground myself. I really feel like I'm floating, and
Yeah. Yeah.
I have to bring myself back down.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's a lot more intense for some reason. I don't know if people watching my videos would see any difference, but I feel different. I
Mm.
feel
Have
like
you
I'm
got
on
an
a
idea
different
of
level.
what that is?
I think that my body and just the vibes are shifting.
Mhm.
I think our bodies are changing. Um, we're in a different frequency now. I feel like I'm on a much higher frequency than I was before. Much higher frequency,
Yeah.
totally different than before. So
I can relate to what you're saying. I've definitely had a few sessions where I've literally had to go for a walk or get out in the
yes,
garden, or yeah, and I
yes,
can feel like a buzziness in my energy.
yes.
It hasn't happened. It doesn't happen every session, but there's definitely been a few that seems to be a bit more like that, and it is something to do with that energy. And
There's
yeah.
there's something going on. It doesn't matter if I'm doing it in person or I'm doing it online. It's the same thing. I'm on a different level now. It's really strange. Um,
Mm.
Not level of work, but it's just my spirit is on a different level that I don't know what's happened to it, but it's fun. It's a change. It's
Yeah.
like you're growing.
Yeah. So I wonder if it is, yeah, because it's like, is it just that sense of more expansiveness into, I know you call it your team, but you know, more expansiveness into your higher self,
Yeah.
and allowing more of that to be grounded. So you're
Mhm.
allowing more of the energy to flow through you, really, and then the
Yes.
body has to catch up to
That's
integrate.
the thing. And I had a session with Tabash many years ago. Um, Unlike you, I'm like a slug. I don't move much. Or a sloth.
And who is
I
Tabash?
don't,
Just to explain for anyone
Tabash,
who.
Tabash is a spirit that's channeled by Blair Styra. Blair lives in Wellington, New Zealand, and he does Skype sessions where he channels the spirit Tabash. And Tabash had told me, listen, you are going to be changing. Your body's going to be changing, and you need to be physically fit for this. You're going to be channeling more energy through you, and the more energy you channel, the more fit you have to be physically, because your body can't handle it.
To allow the energy to flow through. Yeah.
Exactly. So I'm very stubborn in my ways, and to me exercise would be walk around the block or something, to the post, to the get the post down the street. So I think that's affecting me. You know, it is affecting me that I do need to now do more physical activity because yes, the body is energetic. First of all, it's energy. So what I kind of think about is, you know, if you're passing more electricity through a wire, you have to have a cable that really can handle it. You have to have it strong, or else it's going to burn up. And I think that's what's happening is that the more I channel, the more my body needs to be in physical condition for that. So it's just changing. And I know my body is changing too. It just feels different than it did before. Not that you could see different, but it just feels different than it did
Yeah,
before.
yeah. Well, I mean, we are shifting frequency and becoming more
Yeah.
of the light body. So that
Yeah.
density is, that's what I feel that the movement is so important as well, because it's releasing the density. So
Yeah.
however, I see it like a river, really, energy, as long
Mhm.
as long as it's moving, what do I say, as long as it's flowing, we're glowing. And when it gets stuck, whether we call it patterns or even just sitting around too much, that energy needs to flow, and we feel better, and we feel more vital
Right.
and vibrant when it does, because we're bringing in those higher frequencies that can really support and occupy this body. That's why I feel
Right.
like, it's really bringing what we call a spirit, energy, consciousness, and we're grounding it, through this embodiment. It's
Yes. Oh,
incredible.
that's the vibrant living.
Yeah.
That's where it comes from.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So that's been my journey. It's been very gradual, but a lot of knocking my head against the wall, fighting with my guides every step of the way. A lot of discernment, a lot of pushback. It's been a totally different road than a lot of people now who are waking up. And it's funny because they'll connect with me and they say, I just woke up last month. And it's like, oh, wow. And you have all of this information available for you.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I
So,
wouldn't mind just going back to Dolores, as you said, she wrote the books and she collated the information. She called herself a researcher of lost knowledge.
yes.
And, when she brought through that information, I always thought how clever to
Yeah.
put it the way she did, so that
Yes.
she could just kind of go, I'm not saying whether this is true or false. You make up your own mind. If you're ready to have your mind like a pretzel and bend into new perspectives and possibilities, here it is. You do what you want with it, and laying
Yeah.
that foundation. And then before the technological age, really, or before especially the internet, and then you get to, and we all get to use technology now, but especially you've really stepped forward on the using technology with your YouTube channel. And actually, as you said, you're not even needing to write it all down and write books, because it's not really your thing, but you're just you're just really good with the communication, with the videos, and getting them
Yeah.
up online, making them really nice, and
Yeah.
really finessing that gift,
Yeah.
that talent, that interest, which is beautiful, the
Well,
evolution.
that wasn't my idea either because I didn't want to put them online. I've always been very reluctant to do that. My friend Antonio Sancho, which is the one who trains introspective hypnosis, he's the one who said, listen, you got to put your stuff online. And the only reason I put a video online was so that people would know what a hypnosis session would look like, because it wasn't available anywhere online. The only hypnosis sessions were maybe clinical stuff that was a little bit dry. So I just put up my own session, which was done on me. And then people liked it, and I put up another one. But it was really for the intention of, if you wanted to come see me, you could at least see me work and see if you liked it. It was like a resume online. If you don't like me, don't come to me. If you like me, then that's my work. That's what I sound like. This is the work I do. And it wasn't that I was very good at it yet. I was pretty new at it. My first videos are nothing like they are now. My bedside manner was different. My voice was different. I wasn't very good at asking questions. I just wanted people to know what I did.
Mhm.
And that's how it evolved. The more it was like the more people liked it, the more I put them out there, and I just let them go. And okay. You know,
Mhm.
do what you want. But I think everybody is learning from them. That's what's beautiful.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And I think just, you know, again, Dolores was presenting in the words and the
Yeah.
books. And obviously, I mean, I read, you know, I've read pretty much all her books, and I'd feel the goosebumps and the tears sometimes
Yeah.
and the resonance. But for people to actually see the videos and to see
Hmm.
people, you know, and having the emotions and to, you know, I guess it's just that making that next level of realness of,
Right.
of, of these multi-realities and multi-possibilities and our multi-dimensional self and what's possible, that and that we can drop in with the hypnosis, and to watch all kind of people from all walks of life have profound transformational experiences.
Yeah. It is profound, and the more you do this as a hypnotist anyway, the more you realize we've just scratched the surface. We really have. We've just scratched the surface because we are so multidimensional, and there's so much out there available. But hypnosis is also growing along with with people's advancements. The more you know, is what it reminds me of. It's like, you know, in the past, the Olympic swimmers would make a record, right, of as this their speed, and then it wasn't beaten for a while,
The
and then
four-minute mile.
right, and then the next one would beat it, and then someone would beat that and beat that, and it's like there was no end to that. Where before you weren't challenged. So in hypnosis, that's what seems to be happening. The more we do this, the more we expand, and the more we expand, it's almost like we give permission to everybody to expand even more.
Mhm.
And once you have experienced the hypnosis session yourself and see how multidimensional you truly are, there's no stopping you. It's just like nothing is impossible. It's a beautiful experience to just have and understand that you are in full control of this body, this mind, and it's your choices. And the people who are having trouble here, having hard lives, they probably chose those challenges to grow. You
Mhm.
know, there's people who have it easy. And I look at your own life, Mary Jo. And your husband, you and your husband, that really push yourself. You push yourself physically. And it's like, how do they do that? How do they do that? I like an easy life where, I don't have to push myself. And, the most I ever have to do is do a squat to get a pot under the sink, that's about as
Well,
hard as my life is.
it's so
And you
interesting.
guys, you know,
Yeah, well, it's so interesting that you say that, because for us, it's more challenging to sit down. To us, that's like you're saying, you see us pushing ourselves physically. Well, I see you pushing yourself sitting down at a computer. I'm like, how does she do it? Whereas I, like, the most I've sat down the whole time of the lockdown and is
yeah,
really doing these videos, because I felt so inspired and engaged and excited,
yes,
but usually, yeah, it's usually more in the physical body, so I
yeah,
guess it's balancing all the bodies really, as
yeah,
we really harmonize mind,
yeah,
body, and soul really, and take care of all those levels. But it's interesting that you say that, because we
yeah.
don't see it that way at all. We see it having we see it as having fun, and like the
Yeah,
body just going, move me, and
yeah,
and even just watching Steve on his bike, and he goes out the back. He's got a little man cave where if he doesn't cycle out in the mountains, he has his own indoor bike, and I just see him, and he's just exhilarated. He just loves it, and he puts on his
yeah,
music, and I'm like, wow, it's such a high
yeah.
for him. Yeah.
And to me, it's a mental thing. I will work until 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning sometimes after having worked all day. When I
Mm.
get an idea in my mind, I'll look at the clock and I go, "Ooh, the sun's going to be coming up in about an hour. Maybe I should get to bed now." Because
Mm.
really, my mind doesn't stop. It's always creating more and more and more. So, yeah, we all have different ways that we exercise. For me, it happens to be a mental thing, where I will. Um, Go off on a tangent and start planning events and things like that. And it's all I my bicycle spinning is in my head, you know.
Yeah, but you know, go back to what you mentioned earlier about getting the body moving, you know, and
Yeah.
there is a time, you know, there's a timing to everything.
Yes.
Do you find that the information coming through for your clients as well is a lot about how to take care of oneself?
It's always been like that. They've always talked about diet. Whenever I have a session, diet is always really important. How you nourish this body is so important, especially now with so many toxins out there. Water is always so important. And meditation is really the number one thing that comes out in almost every session. Even people who hate to meditate, that's being pushed all the time. You've got to meditate. And you know, I try now to spend at least once a day. I find I don't have my own home, so I go to a really far off place in our apartment complex, and I will take about 20 minutes to a half an hour to sit in the sun and just um, either listen to some chanting or something and just calm myself and put myself into that meditative state, because it does help quite a bit.
Yeah. So what else would you say would be the benefits? Why is it being pushed so much or encouraged
Well,
so much in the sessions?
there is one session in which I think summed it all. The session was, which people did not like that session at all, because it sounded very ominous and it sounded scolding. But you know, guides are sometimes scolding us because we don't do what we need, and it was
Especially
basically
the
told.
stubborn ones.
Yeah. We are basically told that we need to meditate because there's going to get to a time when there's going to be so much craziness in the world, which I think we're in right now. Okay. There's going to be so much craziness in the world that the only ones who will really be able to survive emotionally and mentally and be in tune with themselves are the people who meditate and can connect very quickly to their source, to their God. Because when everything seems to be falling apart, the ones who meditate can very quickly go within and center themselves and not allow the craziness to affect them. But the ones who don't meditate, who don't have that connection with their God, with their source, um, they're going to be freaking out. Okay. And so I think these are the times that we're talking about, that there's a lot of people who are in fear right now and are listening to things that are making them very scared. But the ones who have been meditating and the ones who have that connection have that peace. They can connect with that peace at any time. And it's like, okay, there's crazy stuff out there, but I'm okay. I'm okay. So I think that's really important, especially in these times, that you need to center yourself and understand that you are always connected. There's nothing that's going to happen to you, and that you need to connect. And meditation.
Go back
Does.
to, you know, cultivating the trust, the
Yes.
connection, the trust in that channel, because when we don't have that connection, that we haven't cultivated that inward relationship, if you like,
Yes.
and trust, then we can get pulled into this outer reality, knock on wood, what's been happening on the outside,
Right.
because we believe in that more than we believe in this inner connection.
Yes. Yes. So that is what I think is one of the most important things, is the meditation. Really everything we've been talking about, the meditation, keeping your body healthy and strong, eating the right things, really being part of nature. We need to understand that we are nature and we don't act like it. You know, we have separated ourselves from nature, and once you are back in nature, you know, Mary Jo, that nature needs nothing. Nature just is, and it gets fed, it gets taken care of. Water comes in the morning. There's dew on the ground. It's loved. Nature is loved, and we need to be a part of that nature.
Yeah, in my retreats, sometimes when I'm explaining that, say that nature doesn't fight its nature. It doesn't, the trees don't go, oh, I don't want my leaves to fall off, they were so beautiful, I don't want to change, you know. And that it's our human is the one that fights our own nature.
Yes.
We don't want to change, we won't let go, we're afraid of the next season of life. We don't, because we don't trust our own nature. And so, you know, going back to meditation, it's coming back into trusting our very nature. And as you said, to be creators. And the reason we can be confident, if you like, in the peace and the stillness, is because you start to really realize and take that radical self-responsibility through self-love, that yes, you know, we start to understand this operating system and really get that the thoughts we think affect the energy, emotions, energy, feeling, vibration, frequency that we're emanating, and that is the projection and the creation of our reality experience.
Yeah, and you really said the words that are most important, is self-love. It's self-love. You have to love yourself first. And that was something that was taught by my dear mother, who would always say, I love myself. She would always say, I love myself. Yeah.
She did not learn that in Catholicism.
She was a big rebel. She said, she would always say, I love myself, I love my body. And my mother made it a point every day, she was 93 when she passed, to always walk every single day. Always walked, even when she could hardly see anymore. She would walk all the time, and she would eat as healthy as possible, because she would go to the doctors and take care of herself, always making sure, because she would say, I love this body. It's the only body I have. And if this body is not healthy, there's no reason to live anymore. So she always made sure that she took care of her body, and she would always say, I love my body. I love my body, and I take care of it. You know, and I'm not saying love it in a you know.
No, but it's you know, I do, you know, it's like, yeah, thank you, body, thank you for being this amazing vehicle, vessel. Yeah, you know, machine temple.
She taught me that. She says, you have to love yourself first, because you cannot do anything if you're not healthy, if you don't take care of yourself, you know, and you know, give yourself that pleasure of having a good body, you know, of a healthy body. And you know, while other old people are sitting around their walking chair, she would be out there walking. And she was a seamstress, so she did a lot of exercise, hemming clothes, and you know, getting down there on her knees. And she never stopped working until, you know, she couldn't anymore. So she loved life. And that's, I think, if everybody has that attitude, you know, love yourself, love the situations that you're in, because you created them. So grow from them. And then
Who, me? I thought it was all them.
Yeah.
They did it to me, and la la la.
Yeah. We all create our little schools. And you know, I feel so happy to be at the age that I am right now. You know, I'm in my 60s now, and I feel so good being able to look back at my entire life and see all of the mistakes that I made, how much I grew, and who I am now. It's just so satisfying. You know, it's like, it's just amazing. It's just amazing.
Because you lived your life. You embraced it. You said yes.
Yeah,
you might have had a little battle along the way.
Oh yeah, I'm really stubborn. I'm really stubborn, but you know, it's the way it is. But I love being right now where I am, where I feel it's going to be okay. You know, for all of those people who are young and are lost, you know, they're always asking me, what's my purpose? Your purpose is to live your life right now. It's to live it. Enjoy your life. Learn from your mistakes. Learn from the mistakes. You have to have mistakes. Learn from them. Become wiser so you can help other people. You know, the purpose is to live. It's to live. It's to enjoy life and just live it and be the best the best version of you each and every cycle that you go through. I have died so many times in this lifetime and recreated myself. You know, I've seen you recreate yourself a few times already, you know, in the last few years. You know, it's like that was the old Mary Jo. This is the new one now. We
Yeah.
do this all the time, and you don't need to apologize for that other person. It's just we're all we
Well,
grow.
yeah, exactly. And I would say, you know, that keeping that student mind and that openness to
Yeah.
always learn. And a lot of the old consciousness was, okay, this is who I am, this is my label, these are my expectations. And you know, once you start to really understand energy, you know, that you get stuck, kind of gets
Yeah.
stuck, and the energy
Yeah.
isn't moving. To refresh, I call it refresh the browser. I love using technology as an analogy, you know. And so you
Yeah.
want to keep refreshing the browser. If there's all these pages open, you know, things get stuck and we slow down. So is it any
Yeah.
wonder that we start going into that more degeneration, or we get a bit disenchanted, or just you know, we lose connection to the passion, which again, of course, is that energy of inspiration that is
Yeah.
available to us, but it's opening back up to it and actually trusting ourselves again and loving ourselves enough to yeah, to show up in the way that we're being guided to show up, which
Yeah.
takes trust, as we know.
And don't take anything so seriously. Don't take anything so seriously. I think that's really important for people to understand, because no matter what you're going through right now, it's going to change. It's going to change. So don't take anything that seriously. What you think is important now, a few years from now, it's not even going to matter. You will have changed again. So don't hold on to anything so tightly that and take it so seriously. Everything just, like you said, just flows. It just flows. So
And I think what you said about, you know, embracing that life is about making mistakes and growing from them. And you know, once we can really shift our consciousness to really embrace that life is growth, life is evolution. So of course we have to fall down and get a bit messy and mucky, and then pick ourselves up and go, okay, let's do it a different way. You know, it's part of life.
and I have mucked it up many times. I wouldn't feel so wise right now if I hadn't gone through all of that craziness, you know, because
Exactly.
yeah, I have made many mistakes in my life, you know, and trying to figure things out. And I still do all the time. But that's part of, that's part of life, you
Yeah.
know, just embrace that. And it's like when you're growing up and you're learning how to walk. How many times do you fall down before you learn how to balance?
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
Ha-
So
it-
yep.
so that's how it is. It's like embrace life, embrace change. Don't take anything so seriously, and take care of that body. I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah. And that is, it's change that's natural. It's the stuckness that's unnatural.
But that's our programming. That's
Yeah,
our
yeah,
programming.
yeah. And it's been an experience, of course, to slow things down vibrationally so that we
Yeah,
could really explore things within our own consciousness, you know,
right.
different elements of life, which we've done.
Yeah.
We've done it really, really well.
Yeah, but isn't it amazing, Mary Jo, that right now everyone is on hold.
Mm.
Everyone is stuck right now in a holding pattern.
Mhm. Would you not say to
And
see it more of a pause?
it's a pause, but it's
Yeah,
almost like all these things that we've been saying. It's like, isn't this a great time for you to really like take the time to meditate?
yeah.
Wouldn't it be nice for you to? I know you have this beautiful grounds around you, but wouldn't it be nice to turn on the TV to a yoga channel and do some yoga in front of the TV? Cooking, home cooked meals that are nutritious, find new things to cook with that you've never cooked with before, different ingredients you've never used that are nutritious, that are good, you know, focus on that. You can't complain that you don't have the time now. You know, it's like, try something new, teach your kids how to cook with you. There's so many opportunities for you to go within and start taking care of yourself. So I think these are great times right now just to reset, and see which way we're going to go now as a society.
Yeah. And just going back to, you're talking about, you know, these newly awakened ones, and as we know, there is this wave of millions and millions of people who are waking up, and it could be just a week ago or 2 months ago, and go, you know. So in a way, you know, for those of us who have been on the journey, we do kind of have this luxury of kind of sitting back now, because we, with compassion though, because we do have these experiences of where, yeah, it's challenging, it's overwhelming, it's intense, it's confronting, it's, you know, it shakes the very foundation of what may have been our sense of security, or where we thought we were going at certain times. And then it's like, oh no, we're heading over this direction now, or this experience, or this is like, oh, do I have the capacity? Can I trust myself? You know, and then we've gone through that again and again. So it's like, okay, I can relax a little bit more and trust this.
For those who are awakening, and I remember because I was on that path for a little while, it's almost like trying to drink water from a fire hydrant. They want to have all of it so fast. And, you know, I've done the same thing. I've got tons of books over here. My Kindle, if I could hold the Kindle books in my hand, it would be through the roof. There's so many books you want to read. There's so many things you want to see, but you can only drink one sip at a time. You can't drink from a fire hydrant. And whatever you need to learn at this time, your guides will guide you to it. Just absorb one thing at a time, and you will be led to the right people, the right channels, the right information, the right retreats, whatever it is. But don't try to cram it in all at one time, because it doesn't work that way. You have to absorb it. People come to me and they say, you know, I want to learn all about crystals. And I'll say to them, pick one crystal. Learn everything about that one crystal. Have a relationship with that one crystal first, and then move on to the next crystal. Don't try to memorize the entire crystal book, because we can't. We have to go slowly, and it's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine for all those people who are out there learning. It's a fun journey, you know, and there's so much out there for you. But also use your discernment, because there are a lot of snakes out there that are not telling you the truth, and that's something that you will experience too. There are people who are just in it for the money, and they will tell you things that really are not good. So keep checking in with your gut and see how it feels. Don't take anything at face value.
Can you give any more insight into how people can really, because again, that's a word we say, discernment. How can they recognize their guidance, discernment?
You know, your guides are talking to you all the time. They're talking to you all the time, and you know what it feels like when something is right and something is wrong. You just know it. It's in your gut. And if someone comes up to you and talks to you and it doesn't feel good, don't run away, run as fast as you can. Always find that gut feeling first. It's not for you. We have a lot more guidance. We are a lot more advanced than we know we are. And you can look into somebody's eyes and could feel if that's right or not. You know, I've gone to places where I have met people who talk so eloquently and so beautiful and this and that. Oh, they're so spiritual. I'm not buying it. It's almost like trying to drink poison as I'm listening to them, because I know it's all smoke and mirrors. It's not real. Their ego is in that. They want to be they want to be known. They want to be famous. They want to be everybody's guru, but they're not there for you. They're there for their, you know, aggrandizement. They're there to make themselves feel good. So use your gut. If it doesn't feel good, run away really fast.
Another way I've heard to, just in a very simple way as well, is if it feels light and expansive,
Yeah.
compared to if it feels, there's a tightness or a contraction.
Yeah. Well, that's how your higher self talks to you. It either feels open or feels closed.
Yeah.
That's it. So that's your gut. If it doesn't feel good, it's going to be like, your stomach's going to be like, oh, I don't know about this. You're going to feel a hesitation.
Good vibes, bad vibes.
That's it. It's easy. So no matter how much people talk about some spiritual leaders or whatever, if you don't feel good, it's not for you. Don't follow the crowd. Don't follow what anybody else says. Follow your own truth. Like I was taught, you know?
Yeah. What would you have to say to people, as you know, there is all this information coming out, and there is a level of, we'll say, the smoke and mirrors to come down, or the veils to come down, and to start seeing behind those curtains of those charming appearances or whatever. And what would you say to those people who are really being confronted and overwhelmed and are really discombobulated with all that information, and where to go with it? Because it is a process, and it seems like it has to come up and out.
Well, you can't force it. If you're not ready for it, it's not your time. Turn it off for a while. Turn it off for a while. Don't watch it. There are times when I will be maybe following some lead on YouTube or something that is interesting, and it's almost like I hear a voice in my head saying, "That's enough." Like you would say to a child, "That's enough. Turn it off." And it's like, okay, okay, because you're going off on the deep end. It's too much. You can't swim there. It's too deep.
Yeah. It's nearly like, I would say, well, my experience of what I discovered is what just came to me there. It's like when we have to do our own emotional work, and say we've pushed things into the background and we haven't acknowledged and accepted. So we have to get to that place where we're finally willing to find some form of expression or release or resolution to those emotions.
Yeah.
And then, rather than just keep going over the story again and again, we let it go. We let it go and move on. So it needs acceptance, it needs expression, it needs resolution in terms of some level of allowing the integration, and then move on, rather than just, because that's where we can get really stuck, where we just keep repeating the story, or poor me, or this isn't fair, and then perpetuate that, because of course ultimately we are creator beings, just like you spoke about earlier, and then you'll start adding to that reality.
Yeah, and that's the key is that we are co-creating this reality. We are co-creating it. So why not co-create something that we want to see rather than we don't want to see? And some of the people out there are trying to create a reality that's very scary and scare people. Even the spiritual community will scare them. And you've got to use your discernment as to whether you want to add to that energy or not. There's some thoughts going around right now, and I just won't give any more energy to it. Live in your own, like we said before, go within, and learn how to connect with that part of you. You don't need other people to tell you what your truth is.
Yeah, and it's like, going back to the meditation, was coming back to that again, and why that the guides are guiding people to really come back in, because the deeper in we go, the more we don't get caught up in other people's reality, and we don't become I guess controlled or manipulated, and we can really take back we can be in our sovereignty and really create what it is we truly choose to create, whatever that is, and everyone's unique in that preference. Yes, and that's a divine right.
It is. So once we realize who we are and how powerful we are and how connected we always are, that's very powerful. Yeah.
And that's the awakening, really, isn't it? that realization or that level of acceptance.
Yeah. And again, you asked me, what it was. It's this new reality. The reality that you're just not this body that is here to be here. You are a spiritual being using this body as your vehicle. Use it well. Don't crash up your car. Don't trash it and don't crash it, and take care of it.
Enjoy your
And
creation.
enjoy your creation. That's right. Give it good gas. Or petrol, whatever you call it there.
Free energy, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Keep it in good shape, and it's a good ride. It really is a good ride. Just enjoy it now.
Relax into it.
Yeah.
It's just that when that fight or flight nervous system gets triggered, and I definitely know from my own experience, the challenge of really coming off that system, if you like, of orientating to life or being in that reactivity to life. Again, back to the meditation, so you can come deeper in and respond rather than be in that reactive reptilian brain.
Yeah. One of the things that I learned from Tabash, again, going back to him, because we did a workshop recently, and he says, really, life is all about how you react to things. How am I going to react to this situation? And one of the stories that I tell a lot of my clients is that just recently, I guess about a year ago, I came into my car and my airbag was missing out of my steering wheel. Somebody had broken into my car and hadn't broken anything. They must have had an automatic opener for the car and took my airbag. So I had this big hole in my steering wheel. Now, an old version of me would have freaked out. Here I am, victim. They stole my airbag. But, my reaction was, does my car start? Because I need to get somewhere. And I do have insurance for that reason. Let me call the police. Let me do a case on it and let me move on. And I guess they needed it. That's their job. They stole it. They're doing, they were quick and they were good. But, I can get another airbag. So the old me would have freaked out and, oh my God, there's theft in my community and how terrible is that? But I didn't give that energy. It's like, okay, that's what I have car insurance for. And there's nothing I could have done about it. They got into my car electronically and, they outsmarted everybody, and good for them, but I don't need to react in that old version of me. So life will give you those things all the time. So how will you react to these things that are happening to you?
And it's like when those things come up, we get another opportunity on our awakening expansional journey to observe,
exactly,
I reacted really different than I would have some years ago.
And that's the growth. That's when you're growing, when you react differently. When someone says something to you and you could say, okay, maybe they're having a bad day. Maybe they're constipated. It could be anything. Or maybe they just, right?
Once upon a time, I would have taken it so personally, and now it's like, I have some compassion. They're probably under a lot of stress, or who knows.
Right. So it's not about getting even with people anymore. It's like, listen, yes, it happened. Things happen. Let's move on. Let's move on. Let's not give that any more energy. We don't need that. It's beyond us. It's beyond, and let's move on. So yeah, that's when you know that you are evolving. You're evolving is when you look at you as the observer are seeing changes in yourself. And it doesn't
and as we change within, the outer starts changing, and then we don't, at least that's what my experience is, don't experience the same level of challenges or
no.
It's incredible. And that's when you really realize, whoa, I am the common denominator.
But those who are just awakening don't get that yet. They still are in they did it to me, and once you can switch that around, and that's what my sessions are about. It's all about forgiveness. Really what it is, when you can understand that you have been holding all of this pain, blaming it on other people. Who's the one suffering? They're not, because they didn't know any difference, but you held it inside, and it's eating you alive. When you can get past that and forgive people and say, okay, well, they didn't know what they were doing. They're not that spiritually evolved yet. They don't know how to handle things differently. When you can release that, that's when you can move on and grow. And it gives you a much better future as a spirit when you leave this earth having forgiven. Because, if you haven't, you're going to take that with you when you go too. Yeah. So, yeah.
And we just see it as energy that is being held energetically, and so that's why I see forgiveness. It is neutralizing it, or taking it out of the negative polarity or the positive polarity, wherever it's been held in the energetic field, until it's like you're holding it somewhere until the day you're ready to actually let it go. Okay, I'm ready to release this now, bring it back to neutrality, 0 point, and create the new reality, new story.
Exactly. And anything could be forgiven. Anything could be forgiven, no matter how horrible. Because forgiveness is not about agreeing with what people have done to you. Forgiving is about yourself, about holding that in you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and let's go back to the self-love. I know forgiveness opens up back into self-love, but there also has to be a certain level of self-love or self-deserving or self-worth to be willing to forgive the past, to know that you deserve better than to carry this burden, because it becomes a burden, right?
Yeah. Oh, it gets heavy. It gets really heavy. So when you finally release that blame on somebody else, no matter what it is, when you can release that and just start to move on from that moment on without having that weight on you, oh my God, it changes you. It changes you.
It literally lightens us up, right?
Yeah. There could have been horrible things that have been done to us, horrible things. But the one who did it doesn't care. It's not burdening them, it's burdening you for holding on to it. You see? So that's what forgiveness is all about. And that's a big part of awakening, of spiritually awakening, because in the spirit world, there is no bad or good. There is no bad or good. It's just experiences. That's it. There's no you did a bad thing. It's how it made you feel. It was just an experience. So
and then ultimately it becomes wisdom. It becomes our wisdom. It becomes our compassion. Exactly. It becomes our deep caring.
Yeah. And you care about people who are going through it too, because you've gone through it. I've gone through deep hurt, so have you. And when you see somebody suffering, you realize, they haven't yet come to realize that they've got to let that go. They've got to stop holding all of that within them, because that just blocks their energy, just like you said before. It's a big blockage. And I went through it, and sometimes you got to punch it out, you got to exercise it out, you got to scream it out, whatever it takes. You got to get it out of you. You got to get it out. Yeah.
And death out of the body transition is another way.
Yeah, but it's going to follow you, because the spirit goes with you,
Right.
I deal with that every day, in that, when you transition, whatever it is that your belief system is, you're going to take it with you. You take that with you. All that you've left behind is your body. That's it. You've left your vehicle, but the driver is still holding on to all the experiences. So you have to work things out. And that's why in the spirit world you go to school, and you learn again how to have compassion, and just you learn so much in the spirit world, and then you come back and you do it again.
Expansion, evolution, experience,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
realization. Yeah.
yeah. It
Incredible,
sure is.
incredible. And as you said, we are probably, and you've definitely done a good job of scratching the surface or scanning, and we're all doing it now, in our own ways of really just opening it up,
Mhm.
and it's an incredible time on earth, as chaotic and as crazy as it is, but also, yeah, that it is this time that we're going to look back on as
Oh
this
yeah.
incredible moment of this shift of consciousness and this awakening, and this on a planetary level, where and it seems to me that a lot of it is about the embodiment of it,
Mhm.
on this plane, if you like, this realm, but really embodying and coming into, yeah, I guess the recognition, the acceptance through self-love of the God self,
Yes.
or the source self, or the universal self, whatever you want to call it.
One of the things that I wanted to tell you is that I went to a conference many, many years ago with Louise Hay, and she was very famous for her affirmations.
Mm.
And I went to one of her conferences. I don't remember anything about the conference except one sentence that she said, and that's all I needed. She stood up in the stage and she says, "I could bring up 100 different speakers up here, and they'd all be saying the same thing, but you would probably only resonate with one of them."
Mm.
So what I tell people is, don't feel that you're less than anybody else, because we could all be saying the same thing. We could all be having our own YouTube channel and speaking about this, but it doesn't resonate with everybody. You resonate with a certain type of frequency. I resonate with a certain type of frequency. Somebody else may be saying something that, whoa, it really hits home. So for those people who are thinking, I have things to say them.
Mm.
You're not less than anybody else. Nobody's better than you. Go out there and say them, because there may be an audience for you to share your information.
Mm.
Some people are very, very teacher-like. They're very like straight and narrow and scientific-like, and there's people who gravitate towards them. There's people who are wild and crazy, and they'll gravitate to them. So don't feel that you're less than.
Yeah. And
You know?
if anything, in this new energy, it is about our uniqueness and our unique
Yes.
expression. And because the
Absolutely.
old energy was really fitting into the mold and trying to be like everyone else, to be
Right.
accepted and so on and so
Yeah.
forth. So now, and that's that trust, and that we are all unique pavers of evolution.
Yes.
And
Yes.
as you said, some will be more resonant than others. And yeah, and what I've learned as well, and coming to acceptance more and more, is showing up for myself. If nobody else, show up for me. And that's been so empowering and powerful, and going, yeah, whoa, I didn't realize how much I wasn't showing up for me.
But you,
I thought I needed all this other stuff to show up
no,
for me.
you do it beautifully. There are times when I'm up really late at night and I catch, you on your kitchen floor dancing and stuff. And it's like, wow, she has things that I would never do, and I really honor you for that. It's like, wow, she really, has fun, and it makes me feel good just watching you have a good time.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
you're not doing anything except just being you. But isn't that the beauty of it? So
exactly.
more people have to take that and just say, this is who I am. And some people like to dance, some people like to sing, some people like to, do whatever, but show up as who you are. You are not, nobody is like anybody else anywhere on earth. So shine that uniqueness, embrace the weirdness, embrace your weirdness, because that's who we all are. We're all we're all weird in our own way, and that's what you have
Yeah.
to embrace. So yeah,
and
so
that and
dance.
that is the beauty. That is the essence and the beauty. And it's like nature is such a great teacher, because like when there's no leaves on the tree, oh, isn't it beautiful? We can see the bark and it's bare and it's exposed, and then in the leaves it's like, oh wow, look at the beautiful leaves. And then autumn they go brown, and you know, we're celebrating all these different seasons of life and these expressions of nature. And so we need to learn to do that with ourselves, to truly embrace these different expressions of ourselves in different seasons of life.
And you talk about the tree. Every tree is perfect. It doesn't matter what it looks like. You know, they could be a little bit like this or a little bit like that, but we don't say, oh, what an ugly tree. At least I don't. It's a tree. You know, it's not supposed to be any particular way. That's the way it grows. And that's what we have to embrace in ourselves. There is no perfect you. It is your unique you. There's only you. So embrace that, bring that out. And that's part of the awakening. It's the awakening is that there is a lot more to you than you realize.
And it's like, it's bringing it through, keeping the channel open so that it's more natural to bring our unique expression than it is to stuff it back to try to fit in what's around us.
To hide it. To hide it. Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you, Alba. This has been a beautiful conversation. I've loved hearing what you've got to share, and so much wisdom and the journey and the experiences. Have you any final words or message? And maybe also if you could just share where people can find what you do. And
you could find me the most on YouTube. I mean, you can, there's over 300 videos that you could watch. It's either in English or Spanish. Go to albaweinman.com. And I do have a website, same thing, Alba Weinman. No, the YouTube video is just Alba Weinman, and the website is albaweinman.com. So just go there. And there's a lot of information on my YouTube channel. Every topic is there. Just turn it on and see what you learn today. That's really it. You know, it's that's what I'm here for. I'm here to give you more information, and we all learn this together.
Yeah. And the beautiful thing about your channel and the videos you've got on, and other people are obviously putting videos on as well, but you've got 300, as you say, and it's coming through pretty much 300 unique individuals.
Every single one is different. Every single one is different, and they feel differently, and these are natural human beings being themselves, and that's the beauty of it, is that you will see that there's nobody less than or more than. This is who they are, and I fall in love with their souls. You know, to me, it's a very intimate experience, and that's what I think most people love about these sessions, is that you fall in love with their soul. And once you realize that, we're all like that. That's why we can fall in love with people once we start going deep inside of them. So that's it.
Beautiful, beautiful. And that's exactly the inspiration behind these stories, sharing stories of awakening as well, is just really opening up and sharing the authentic connections and conversations and stories, and also to just make it really you know, that we're all in this together, and we're all just ordinary people, and we've all had a journey, and you know, we don't always necessarily you know, especially in the world that's been, we haven't necessarily shared the darker parts or the more challenging parts of those journeys. And
we don't need to.
Yeah, but also just acknowledging that we all have had that's part of life, you know, it's part of the experience of being on earth.
Yeah, it's you're going to skin your knees every once in a while. You can't run without getting hurt. You're going to fall every once in a while and trip over a rock, and that's what life is all about. You just have to kiss the boo-boo and keep going, you know?
And just what you mentioned earlier as well, that it's about how you skin your knees, but then how do you respond?
Yeah.
You know, and if anything, it seems like in Earth we're learning that, you know, to respond better, and the impact of those responses, and the growth that comes from that.
Yeah, just forgive. There's a lot of people you're going to have to forgive, you know, throughout your life.
Who's the most challenging person of all to forgive, though?
Oh, yourself.
Yeah.
Yourself it's the hardest one, because oh my God, to forgive yourself is the hardest. It really is. It really is, because we always think, why was I so stupid to fall into that trap? Why did I, why was I taken advantage of? Why was I so naive? And it's the dialogue could keep going on and on, but that's what growing up is all about. We make mistakes, and we could look back and go, wow, what did I learn from that? Now I could help somebody else who's going through that and give them support and give them empathy. It really is. Unless you go through an experience, how would you know?
Exactly. That's what sometimes I say in my retreats, is like, how would I know what I know if I hadn't experienced what I've experienced? And otherwise I'd be reading it out of a book, and it'd be theoretical, and the person who wrote that book, they've had that experience, and maybe it worked for them. And that goes back to food as well, and diet, and there's all this information, and sometimes that can be overwhelming for people.
Yes.
So we do have to walk an experience, even if it's just trying out different foods, for example, and then go, oh, this agrees, or this doesn't agree, or this is how it made me feel. We have to, that's experience.
Right. What could be great for you could give me a big bellyache for me. Yeah. And that's the same with life. What you feel is easy. You're like, those mountain biking. I laugh. I used to be in shape, but now round is a shape. So I'm in that shape right now.
The new season of the tree.
That's it. It's a bigger tree. It's a fuller tree. Yeah.
Beautiful. So just any last words, and we'll close it out. I think we've covered it all.
I think we've covered it all. Just believe in yourself. Don't be hard on yourself. Don't try too hard. Just step at a time, and everything will come to you in the exact moment it's supposed to. Trust yourself. Trust your guides that love you so much. That's it.
Beautiful. Thank you. A delight to be here with you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.